On Mel Watt's property in Manistash Ridge near Ellensburg, Washington, there's a hole that resembles a well, but it's unusual. It was once a garbage site owned by previous residents, but Mel discovered odd things about it. His dogs avoided it. His radio caught unusual signals and it seemed to have no bottom. This is the story of one of the biggest mysteries in the world. What was the secret of Mel's hole? Was it a portal to another universe? And why did it have no bottom? Let's find out. Back in 1997, Art Bell, the host of the renowned radio talk show Coast to Coast AM, received a fax from an individual named Mel Waters. Within the fax, Mel detailed an unusual and enigmatic pit of uncertain origin located on his property in Manistash, Washington. According to Mel, this pit, often described as bottomless, managed to startle the local wildlife to such an extent that birds would not venture near it. In a letter addressed to Art Bell, Mel conveyed his appeal for assistance from either Art himself or his extensive listening audience. He detailed his residence in the rural eastern region of Washington, close to Manistash Ridge. In this letter, Mel outlined how, akin to the previous and even earlier property owners, he and his family had been discarding their refuse into the pit. At first glance, Mel assumed the pit might be a relic of an ancient well, a notion that eventually evolved into an obsession. The pit, measuring 9 feet and 9 inches in diameter, featured a stone retaining wall, while a steel door was fitted at its top to prevent accidents. As Mel explained, this pit had become a repository for decades of discarded items, including furniture, household waste, deceased livestock, and even construction debris. The intriguing aspect, however, was that the pit seemed to possess an insatiable appetite, never filling up despite continuous dumping. His curiosity transformed into an almost compulsive endeavor, leading him to employ around 1,500 yards of monofilament from 3 fishing reels in an attempt to gauge its depth. This pursuit led to Mel acquiring a fishing line in bulk, and he had already extended approximately 880,000 feet of line into the pit, yet the depths remained uncharted. Mel's wife, affiliated with a local university's geological department, aspired to involve scholarly experts in assessing the pit's true depth. Apart from its extraordinary depth, Mel pointed out 2 other peculiarities that made the pit distinct. Animals displayed a clear aversion to the vicinity of the pit. Dogs steered clear within a 100-foot radius, while birds declined to perch on the retaining wall or the steel door. Another peculiar observation revolved around the absence of an echo when one shouted into the pit. Even more puzzling, nothing emitted a sound upon reaching the pit's purported bottom. In an illustrative anecdote, Mel recounted the incident of discarding an old refrigerator, which seemingly vanished into the pit without generating any discernible impact noise. Expressing hope for explanations from Art's listeners, Mel speculated whether this pit, based on his measurements, might potentially be the Earth's deepest. He signed off as Mel Waters. Following this, Art Bell extended an invitation to Mel, prompting him to grace the radio show with his presence. This marked the introduction of one of the 21st century's most renowned mysteries, Mel's hole. During a phone interview conducted from Ellensburg, Washington, approximately 80 miles from his property, Mel shared his account of purchasing the Manistash property a few years earlier, emphasizing the perpetual existence of the enigmatic pit. Mel revealed that the pit was a familiar feature to the local populace, including neighbors who routinely disposed of waste within its depths. The pit had served as a repository for a variety of discarded items such as broken machinery, debris, rocks, and even deceased animals like a dog. Mel recounted a curious episode involving a neighbor who, instead of burying his deceased dog, chose to utilize the pit as a makeshift grave, only to witness the dog inexplicably reappear unscathed. This incident bewildered the neighbors as the resurrected dog behaved differently, seemingly unaffected by calls or whistles. Notably, the pit stood as a circular well-like depression measuring slightly over 9 feet in width, featuring a stone retaining wall and descending a few feet before transitioning into the dirt. Undeterred by the absence of observable depth, Mel attempted to gauge the pit's limits by introducing heavy tools and monitoring for any auditory responses. Intrigued by the pit's apparent silence, Mel devised an experiment involving Lifesavers candies attached to a fishing line to ascertain whether water existed at its depths. The test concluded with intact candies after lowering the line for 1,500 feet, suggesting a lack of water at that depth. To further probe the pit's mysteries, Mel acquired multiple spools of fishing line and attached a lead weight, yet the pit's insatiable appetite for line continued unabated. Despite Mel's determined efforts, the pit showed no signs of revealing its depths, swallowing spool after spool of fishing line. Mel's tireless efforts led to the deployment of approximately 880,000 feet of line, equivalent to over 15 miles, into the pit without reaching a conclusive endpoint. Acknowledging his limitations, Mel enlisted Art Bell's assistance in devising a method to accurately measure the pit's depth, considering the potential hazards. Fearing potential dangers, Mel rejected the notion of lowering a volunteer into the pit due to the unexplained phenomena and potentially toxic gases in its vicinity. Despite a caller volunteering for the risky task, Mel remained steadfast in his refusal, unwilling to bear responsibility for any potential consequences. Strangely, Mel confessed that under dire circumstances, he would consider descending into the pit himself, driven by a belief in its unexplored powers. The night's radio broadcast centered on Mel's hole, captivating callers and fueling discussions about the enigmatic phenomenon that would persist for years. Mere days after the initial radio talk, Mel sent a follow-up fax detailing an unsettling encounter. Upon returning to his property in Manistash on his arrival, armed military personnel had blocked access to his property, attributing the road closure to a plane crash and subsequent investigation. However, Mel observed no signs of wreckage or smoke but noticed individuals wearing hazmat-like gear moving around the area. Inquisitive about the situation, Mel sought an explanation from the authorities, encountering an implication that the property might not fully belong to him and veiled threats of discovering illicit activities. Despite contemplating involving the press, Mel faced dismissive responses, fostering a sense of powerlessness. Undeterred by skepticism, Mel expressed his intent to engage the press, prompting a dismissive response from the uniformed individuals who cast doubt on the likelihood of his story gaining traction. Additionally, Mel shared intriguing insights from his neighbors, recounting sightings of a black beam emerging from the pit, resembling a searchlight ascending into the sky. The beam appeared to consume the surrounding light and held an aura of mystique. Responding to the growing intrigue, Art Bell swiftly arranged another call with Mel to explore developments regarding military presence. Mel disclosed a communication from his real estate agent hinting at a potentially lucrative offer for his property, although no formal proposal had yet been presented. Mel's account also featured an anecdote about an elderly individual who recollected stone columns surrounding the pit, reminiscent of Stonehenge. This raised speculation about the pit's ancient origins and whether it had existed for a longer period than previously believed. The connection between Mel's property and the nearby Yakima Training Center, a government facility, sparked theories regarding the swift military response. A caller underscored the geographical proximity of Mel's property to the training center, suggesting a plausible explanation for the military intervention. The call extended into the night, with participants discussing UFO sightings and anomalous occurrences in the vicinity, while expressing anticipation for Mel's future involvement. Curiously, Mel remained absent from subsequent broadcasts, disappearing from the public eye for over 3 years. In 2002, Art Bell managed to locate Mel Waters and invited him back to the show, prompting a recounting of the whole story and its enduring mysteries. A surprising revelation followed as Mel disclosed a remarkable offer: a monthly payment of $250,000 in exchange for a perpetual lease on his property. Accepting this offer required Mel's silence about the pit and a commitment to relocate, an enticing proposition he eventually accepted, leading him to Australia. Art Bell inquired about Mel's prolonged absence from the show, prompting a chilling narrative about a perplexing incident. Mel recounted a journey in December 1999 when he attempted to assist his nephew in relocating to an apartment in Olympia, Washington. Following the moving task, Mel boarded a bus bound for Olympia, only to encounter an unexpected event. The bus was halted by transit authorities due to an onboard altercation, leading Mel and fellow passengers to be transferred to a second bus. At this point, Mel's recollection became hazy, with memories fading after the transfer. Nearly 2 weeks later, Mel discovered himself in a grim San Francisco alley, bereft of personal belongings, and 4 tape attached to his arm and missing memories. Seeking help, Mel's nephew arranged his return to Olympia, where he confronted a lawsuit filed by his ex-wife, claiming property lease violations. Despite his protests, the legal battle initiated by his ex-wife persisted, casting doubt on the ownership of the property. Curiously, the accusations involved constructions that Mel insisted he never carried out, raising the possibility of outside interference. Intriguingly, Mel's story took an unexpected turn involving a peculiar dime. Observing the disappearance of his homemade belt buckle adorned with forked stones and coins, Mel realized its absence. These coins, 10 Roosevelt dimes encased in a Chinese lucky money envelope, raised questions as they bore peculiar characteristics. Seeking answers, Mel traced one of the belt buckle buyers, delving into the mystery surrounding the coins. Examination of the coins revealed an anomaly, an American dime from 1943, a year devoid of dimes bearing Roosevelt's portrait. The anomaly deepened as the dime bore the letter B, an unprecedented initial for the location of coin minting. Mel's attempt to appraise the dime met an unexpected hurdle when the Treasury Department reportedly confiscated the coin from the coin expert. A prominent theorist, Richard C. Hoagland, proposed an alternate explanation, suggesting the coins might originate from a parallel universe. If this theory held true, the coin's origins raised questions about whether the pit was an interdimensional portal, prompting speculation about other similar phenomena. The fame of Mel's hole reached a group of Native Americans in Nevada who extended an invitation to Mel via email to visit their reservation. These Native Americans possessed knowledge of a pit dating back to the 1800s, linked to a historical town of Basque settlers in the region. The Basque settlers, known for their sheep herding, held the pit in reverence, viewing it as sacred ground. Collaborating with the Native Americans, Mel conducted various tests on this pit, paralleling his experiences with the first hole. Similar to Mel's hole, this pit also appeared boundless, prompting curiosity about the consequences of sending a living being into its depths. This curiosity culminated in a grim experiment involving a sheep, which exhibited intense resistance and panic before being lowered into the pit. As the sheep descended, its terrifying screams echoed before abruptly ceasing, leaving its fate shrouded in mystery. Upon retrieval, the sheep was lifeless, offering no clear explanation for its sudden demise. Over time, multiple theories arose in an attempt to decipher the enigma surrounding Mel's hole. The first theory posited a connection to volcanic caves. Volcanic caves created by lava flow near the Earth's surface were suggested as a possible explanation for the pit's formation. Among the various types, lava tubes formed by flowing lava rivers were identified as the most complex volcanic cave structures. Given Washington's volcanic activity, it was hypothesized that Mel's hole might be a remarkably resilient lava tube formed ages ago. The second theory intertwined with the hollow Earth concept, proposing that the Earth possesses an empty interior beneath its outer layer. Mel's hole, under this theory, could be a gateway to this hollow region, explaining the absence of discernible bottom. Another intriguing theory linked the pit to a clandestine government project, spurred by its proximity to the Yakima Training Center. However, the ongoing use of the pit as a garbage dump over the years appeared incongruent with such a classified endeavor. In December 2002, Mel returned to Coast AM for a final appearance, revealing a baffling encounter involving interdimensional communication. Mel disclosed his interactions with an interdimensional entity associated with the Native American pit, conveying a dire message to humanity. This entity, claiming to traverse worlds, warned against harnessing the pit's power for military purposes, predicting humanity's self-destruction. The entity's message suggested that extraterrestrial beings awaited Earth's demise to claim the planet as their own. Following this perplexing broadcast, Mel's presence faded, leaving his subsequent fate shrouded in mystery. Subsequent attempts to trace Mel's whereabouts and uncover his experiences yielded no definitive answers or follow-up. The true nature of Mel's hole continued to elude explanation, prompting questions about its origin and purpose. Mel's inability to provide concrete photographic evidence added to the mystique surrounding the phenomenon. The lingering uncertainty gave rise to various speculations, with skepticism prevailing in the absence of conclusive proof. Despite numerous investigations, Mel's hole remained an enigma that defied easy categorization. The captivating tales and peculiarities surrounding the pit led to a wave of fascination and skepticism in equal measure. The account of Mel's inexplicable journey to San Francisco and the mysterious disappearance of his belongings only added to the intrigue, fueling speculation about hidden forces at play. The story of the peculiar dime, with its unusual markings and its potential ties to parallel universes, prompted a broader exploration of the nature of reality and the possibility of multiple dimensions intersecting with our own. Richard C. Hoagland's theory of the coins originating from a parallel universe ignited debates about the nature of reality and the boundaries of our understanding. Mel's interactions with the Native Americans and the unsettling experiment involving the sheep cast a dark shadow over the pit's mysteries. The abrupt cessation of the sheep's screams upon descent into the pit posed unsettling questions about what lay within its depths. The very nature of the pit, its resistance to exploration and the eerie events that surrounded it, continued to confound researchers and enthusiasts alike. In the realm of conspiracy theories, the The pit's proximity to the Yakima Training Center fueled suspicions of government involvement and classified experiments. However, the pit's utilization as a garbage dump over the years appeared incongruous with secretive military activities. This incongruity only deepened the sense of mystery surrounding the pit's true purpose. So thank you for watching this video. If you found this story as captivating as we did, remember to show your support by hitting that subscribe button and ringing the notification bell. We'd love to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below.